Aloha class. My inspiration project I did was on drugs. So the definition of drugs is any substance that chemically alters the function or the structure of a living organism. Um, Drugs are habit forming, and the definition of drug abuse is the illegal use of drugs or the misuse of prescription drugs or over the counter drugs. So there are different types of drugs. The first being stimulants. They're also known as uppers. They impact the central nervous system, so your brain functioning mainly. Um, it increases alertness, heart rate, blood pressure, and glucose levels. They use this for narcolepsy and ADHD and asthma, surprisingly. And it comes in a pill form or powder form, and it can be in food. So different types are like cocaine. Coffee is a type of stimulant. It's not technically a drug, but it is technically a stimulant because it raises all the levels. Crystal meth and LSD. Some of the risk from taking stimulants is anxiety, paranoia, psychosis, high body temperature, depression, heart failure. You could also get strokes and a lot of seizures. The next is depressants. Depressants do the opposite of uppers, and coincidentally, they're called downers. It also impacts the central nervous system, but it just lowers everything that the stimulant would increase. They use this for anxiety and insomnia and OCD. Um, they it's normally everyone who abuses the drug or who uses it says they use it for an escape for from everyday stresses. So that's why there's a lot of people who drink alcohol because it helps them take away from the stress of everyday life. And a lot of people who smoke um, and who pop a lot of pills like Xanax. Xanax is a very heavy abused drug, prescription drug. Risk from taking depressants is high blood pressure, diabetes. You're more likely to gain weight. There's increase in body temperature. You become very sluggish. There's you have impaired memories. Sometimes you can have hallucination, and if you pop too many pills, then it could result in death from withdrawals. Next is hallucinogens. So hallucinogens disrupts the communication within the brain. Intense. There's intense, rapid shifting emotions and perceptions of the things that aren't there. So hallucinogens create hallucinations, obviously. So they can be used. They can be smoked, eaten, or ingested by a pill or drink. So it's just psychedelic things. When using it, you're at risk of having persisting perception. So basically, flashbacks the from the drug. So when you're on the drugs, you hallucinate different things. But even if you're off the drug, it still messes with your brain, and you can still have those different things that aren't there. It also the risk is also fear, distorted cognition, paranoia, psychosis, anxiety, increased blood pressure, and nausea. Then there's dissociatives, and dissociatives are one of the most dangerous drugs out there. So it distorts the user's perception of reality, and it interferes with brain receptors for the chemical glutamate, and then cognition and emotion and pain perception. So these people, they have a false sense of um, invincibility, and they feel as if they're watching themselves from outside of their body. So with that, they feel like they can do anything and nothing's gonna hurt them, which leads to risky behavior. Um, with when you have withdrawals from these, you're at risk of depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, speech difficulties, social withdrawal, hallucinations again. You have a detachment from reality and you start to become numb from things, and you have a lot of memory loss. And surprisingly, uh, you can some of these dissociatives are found in Robitussin. So if you take a lot of Robitussin, that's not good. And one of the most dangerous drugs is PCP. I'm not gonna attempt to say that because I'm gonna butcher it, but it comes in like a lot of different forms, like pills, um, needles, like shots and injections. Just stay away from these things. Then there's opioids. So opioids is powerful painkillers. It gives a sense of euphoria, and it derives from the poppy plant, which is right here. So this is the plant, and they take the seeds and things from the plant, from basically. It can be smoked, eaten, drank, or injected. So oxycodone or codeine is like a lot what you'll hear in the media. If you hear a lot of rappers, they'll rap about all these drugs. So get educated that way, I guess. Then there's inhalants, which are made up of everyday items. So it gives a brief feeling of euphoria. The highs differ from each inhalant. So when you're a kid, that's why your teacher said don't inhale the Sharpies. And when you go to gas stations, you're not really supposed to be breathing in the gas fumes. But it also comes out of any of these spray cans. Any smell that comes out of it is also considered an inhalant. Some risks that you put yourself from doing these things is you get a loss of smell. There's brain damage. You get a lot of nosebleeds and weaknesses. There's an increase in heart rate, loss of consciousness if you keep sniffing too much, and you could get slurred speech. Then there's cannabis, one of Hawaii's favorite drugs. Cannabis is also known as marijuana. It's a hallucinogen with depressant-like effects. So it can be smoked, vaporized, or eaten. It causes you to see things that might not be there, but it also puts you in a relaxed state of mind. And some of the things you put yourself at risk is you have a lower immunity to illness, and you put yourself at depression when you don't smoke. There's chronic anxiety. In men, if you smoke too much cannabis, you have a reduced sperm count. You have a slower reaction time and enhanced sense. So, like, you get more sensitive to seeing bright lights. That's why a lot of people wear sunglasses after they smoke. And you have an impaired sense of time. So everything is just, like, slowed down and you can't really tell anything that's happening. So, some fun facts about drugs. The drug capital of the world is Colombia. In Canada, the average age that people start using drugs is 15.7 years old. But in America, it's 13 years old. Meth is 3 times stronger than cocaine. PCP, like I said, is the most dangerous drug out of all of them. Prescription drugs kill more people than illegal drugs. Marijuana, cocaine, and hallucinogens are the most commonly abused drugs. So if you ever went to school in America, in elementary school, we go to this thing called Dare, and basically it's like a prevented drugs program that we learn as a kid, and we just let this man down because he doesn't. We weren't supposed to do drugs, but majority of my graduating class did do drugs. So you might be wondering why I decided to choose to do drugs as my inspiration project. It's because growing up, my father he he was a drug abuser, and um, now when we talk, he says he doesn't remember a lot of me growing up, and he doesn't remember a lot of things that happened when I was younger, and it really like impairs his memory, and he doesn't recognize a lot of people even though he met them back then. Um, and then he used to be alcoholic too, so it really does mess with your brain. And drugs, it like all jokes aside, drugs really isn't a good thing for people to be abusing or just to be partaking of. And I feel like we just need to we need to raise more awareness to drugs, and so we can help prevent these things. Thank you.